Someone is manipulating you right now, and you have no idea. They know exactly what you want to hear, and they are using it against you. The dark psychology of seduction isn't about romance. It's about power, it's about control, and the most terrifying part, you enjoy every second of it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the psychological tactics that master manipulators used to make you fall, not in love, but into a carefully constructed trap. From mirroring your deepest desires to engineering emotional dependency, these techniques exploit vulnerabilities you didn't even know you had. By the end of this video, you'll never see attraction the same way again. The mirror trap. Imagine meeting someone who finishes your sentences, shares your obscure taste in music, and seems to understand you on a level no one else ever has. It feels like fate. But what if it was strategy? Psychologist Robert Greene documented a technique used by history's most powerful seducers, mirroring. The perfect courtier thrives in a world where everything revolves around power and political dexterity. The idea is devastatingly simple. You study your target. You absorb their mannerisms, their values, their insecurities. Then you reflect it all back at them. You become the person they have always been looking for. This works because of a deep psychological principle. We are narcissistically drawn to people who resemble us. Research from the University of Liverpool found that we rate faces more attractive when they've been digitally morphed to look like our own. Mirror, absorb, reflect. The dark seducer doesn't show you who they are. They show you yourself wrapped in the illusion of a perfect partner. And that's what makes it so dangerous. You're not falling for them. You're falling for carefully constructed reflection. But this is only the beginning. Because once the mirror is set, they need something deeper to hook you. Emotional hunger. Every person walking this earth carries an unmet need. Maybe you never felt truly seen by your parents. Maybe you crave validation you never received. Maybe you're starving for someone to tell you that you're enough. Hunger. Dark seducers don't just notice these wounds, they feed on them. Psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott identified what he called the false self, the persona we construct to protect our deepest vulnerabilities. It is a joy to be hidden, and a disaster not to be found. A skilled manipulator finds that hidden part of you, the one desperate to be found, and positions themselves as the only one who truly understands it. They say exactly what your inner child needed to hear decades ago. You have never felt this understood because no one else bothered to look. If this is making you rethink every connection you've ever felt, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of your psyche with me. There's so much more to uncover, and that emotional hunger, it's precisely what makes the next tactic so devastatingly effective. Love bombing. The calls that never stop. The messages at 3 in the morning telling you you're the most beautiful person they've ever seen. The grand gestures that leave your friends speechless. It feels like a fairy tale. Attention gifts obsession. But in psychology, this has a name, love bombing, and it's one of the most effective manipulation tools ever documented. Psychologist Dale Archer described love bombing as a pattern where the manipulator floods the target with excessive affection to create emotional dependency before the victim even realizes what's happening. They give you everything so that later they can take it all away. The neuroscience is terrifying. Each compliment, each surprise, each declaration of devotion floods your brain with dopamine. Your neural reward pathways light up like a slot machine hitting jackpot after jackpot. All things are poison, and nothing is without poison. The dosage alone makes it so a thing is not a poison. And here's the darkest part. When the love bombing suddenly stops, your brain doesn't return to normal. It goes into withdrawal. Like an addict cut off from their supply, you'll do anything to get that feeling back. Which brings us to the cruelest technique of all. Push and pull. One day they adore you. The next day they barely acknowledge your existence. You send a message, no reply for hours, sometimes days. Then suddenly, without warning, they appear with overwhelming warmth as if nothing happened. This is intermittent reinforcement, and behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner accidentally discovered why it's so powerful. In his famous experiments with pigeons, Skinner found that unpredictable rewards create the strongest behavioral responses. The most addictive pattern is not constant reward, but unpredictable reward. Your brain becomes obsessed with figuring out the pattern. When will they be warm again? What did I do wrong? How can I earn their attention back? Hot, cold, addicted. This is the exact same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. The slot machine doesn't pay out every time, and that's precisely why you can't stop pulling the lever. as psychiatrist Judith Herman observed. The perpetrator's only consistent feature is inconsistency. The push and pull isn't a flaw in the seducer's behavior, it's the entire strategy. But the question remains, what kind of person does this deliberately? The dark triad. In 2002, psychologists Delroy Polhus and Kevin Williams identified a cluster of 3 personality traits that predict manipulative behavior in relationships. Dark triad. Narcissism, an inflated sense of self-importance, and an insatiable need for admiration. Machiavellianism, a cold, calculating approach to human interaction where people are merely tools. And psychopathy, a fundamental lack of empathy combined with superficial charm. 1. Narcissism, the need to be worshipped. 2. Machiavellianism, the strategy to control. 3. Psychopathy, the ability to feel nothing. Research published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences found that individuals high in dark triad traits are significantly more likely to use short-term mating strategies, seduction as conquest, not connection. They do not want you, they want the power of having you. The most frightening discovery. A study from Bradley University found that people consistently rate dark triad individuals as more attractive in initial encounters. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. Evolution may have wired us to be drawn to the very people most likely to exploit us. And once they have you, they need to make sure you stay. Scarcity game. There's a reason luxury brands limit their production. Scarcity increases perceived value, and dark seducers understand this principle better than any marketing executive. Rare, exclusive, unavailable. Once they've established themselves as your source of emotional fulfillment, they begin to withdraw strategically. Canceled plans, unanswered calls, suddenly busy schedules. Psychologist Robert Cialdini identified scarcity as one of the 6 fundamental principles of persuasion. The way to love anything is to realize that it might be lost. When something feels scarce, your brain assigns it greater value. The same person who was available and attentive now becomes a prize to be won. You stop evaluating whether they deserve you and start wondering if you deserve them. This is a complete reversal of power. You entered the dynamic as an equal, perhaps even as the one being pursued. Now you're the one checking your phone, analyzing their every word, wondering what you did wrong. The hunter has become the hunted, and this shift in power is deliberate, because once they control your sense of worth, the real damage begins. Identity erosion. It starts with small comments disguised as concern. Are you sure you want to wear that? Your friends don't really have your best interests at heart. You're too sensitive, I was just joking. Each comment is a tiny cut, and you barely notice the bleeding. Psychologists call this gaslighting, a term derived from the 1944 film where a husband systematically makes his wife question her own sanity. The dark seducer doesn't just want your attention or your body, they want your identity. Piece by piece, they dismantle the things that make you who you are, your confidence, your friendships, your trust in your own perception. Doubt, isolate, reshape. Psychologist Lundy Bancroft, who spent decades studying abusive personalities, wrote something that should chill you to the bone. The abuser's goal is to control your view of reality so thoroughly that you can't trust your own mind. This isn't accidental cruelty, it's architecture. They are constructing a reality where you cannot function without them. And the most disturbing part, by the time you notice, something far more sinister has already taken hold. Trauma bonding. Here's the question that haunts every therapist who treats victims of manipulation. Why don't they just leave? Trauma bond. The answer lies in your neurochemistry. When someone alternates between cruelty and kindness, your brain forms what psychologist Patrick Carnes called a trauma bond, an emotional attachment so powerful it overrides logic, self-preservation, and even survival instincts. During moments of cruelty, your cortisol and adrenaline spike. During moments of kindness, your brain floods with dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. The relief from pain becomes indistinguishable from genuine love. This neurochemical cocktail creates an addiction that rivals heroin in its grip. Stockholm Syndrome, where hostages develop attachment to their captors, operates on the exact same mechanism. Traumatic bonds are the superglue of destructive relationships. The victim doesn't stay because they are weak. Chemistry, not choice. They stay because their brain has been rewired to interpret the cycle of pain and relief as love. Breaking free requires more than willpower. It requires understanding exactly what's been done to you, and that's where the final transformation happens. The power shift. There comes a moment, and it's almost imperceptible, when the dynamic shifts completely. You are no longer a person to them, you are a possession. The seduction phase is over. The mask begins to slip. Where there was charm, there is now contempt. Where there was attention, there is now indifference unless you disobey. The relationship was never about connection, it was always about control. Psychologist Erich Fromm drew a devastating distinction between what he called mature love and immature love. Immature love says I love you because I need you. Mature love says I need you because I love you. Dark seduction is the ultimate expression of immature love. It's not love at all. It's acquisition. The seducer's internal monologue was never how can I make this person happy. Own, control, consume. It was always how can I make this person mine. And at this stage, leaving feels impossible, not because they'll stop you, but because you've forgotten who you were before them. The cage was built so slowly, you thought you were building a home. But here's what they never want you to know. Breaking free. The most powerful weapon against dark seduction isn't anger. It isn't revenge. Awareness. It's awareness because manipulation only works in the dark. The moment you understand the mechanics, the mirroring, the love bombing, the intermittent reinforcement, the identity erosion, you become immune to their spell. Psychologist Martha Stout, author of The Sociopath Next Door, offers a simple but profound test. If you find yourself regularly second-guessing your own perception of reality, someone is gaslighting you. Trust the pattern, not the promise. When someone's words and actions don't match, believe the actions. When a relationship makes you feel smaller over time instead of larger, that's not love. When you can't remember the last time you felt like yourself, that's your signal. See name live. Reconnect with the people you were isolated from. Write down what actually happened, not the version they told you. And most importantly, understand that the problem was never that you were too trusting. It was that someone chose to exploit that trust. Everything we've discussed today leads to one unavoidable truth. Dark seduction works because we all carry wounds that long to be healed, needs that ache to be met, and a deep human desire to be seen and chosen by another person. Seen, chosen, valued. There is nothing wrong with wanting connection. The tragedy is that predators weaponize that wanting. But now you know how the machine works. You've seen the gears turning behind the curtain. And knowledge, real, uncomfortable knowledge, is the antidote to manipulation. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You can choose differently now. You can recognize the patterns before they take hold. You can protect your heart without closing it. If you made it this far, comment dark awakened if you'll never look at seduction the same way again. Welcome to the Psyche Project. If this opened your eyes, subscribe for more. Understanding yourself is the work of a lifetime.